Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is video 3 of 3 on how I passed the CPA in 67 days. I thought I'll record through record screen so that I can actually show you what I'm doing during exam day. So first things first, you have 5 testlets, right? So what I usually do is on my first testlet, I keep an eye on the timer. So whatever exam you're taking, you're going to try to do each MCQ within 1 to 1.5 minutes. And then from there, I get a rough estimate. So, rule of thumb is you want to do your 4 hours divided by 5, and that's going to give you your average per testlet. But if possible, you want to do your testlets in a at a quicker pace. Um, because you want to give you some extra time in case you have some crazy sims that are very time consuming and it's just mind-blowing sims. For those that have already taken CPA exams, you know exactly what I mean, especially in FAR. So let's see. So that gives you 5 testlets, right? And then you have 4 hours, which gives you 240 minutes divided by 5 per, right? So 48 minutes per gives you 240 divided by 60 is 4 hours. All right. Yeah, I'm just doing this on the go. So pretty much when I sit down, I do something like this, but small. You want to write as small as possible. Reason so is so you can, one, save space, two, save time. So, and then allocate your scratch paper to those testlets, if that makes sense. So if your paper is like this and it folds right here, so now when you close it, it just looks like a book cover. So what I do is like I write all on the margin. So I write all up in here to track my time, and then I also make a T-chart or not, yeah, T-chart. And literally, if it's like far and I'm like not for profit or governmental, each question I get on those guys, I'll just put a line like to calculate how many questions I'm actually getting. The reason I do that, I want to know how fair or not fair that the exam is doing me at the end. So what I do is I know it's weighted differently, but I just keep tracks of blah blah blah, right? So I might get, I don't know, 7. Yes, do the little cross for 5. So like I got 7 on the first Q, 7 question on the first T, and then I'll divide it by whatever. So 33 for far, right? Hopefully my writing isn't too crazy. But so I do that to one, track where I'm at, and if any topic that seems more than 3 or 4 questions in the first testlet, and then I'll see that, I actually make a chart. Given that it's more than 3 or 4 Qs, that's when I start throwing these things in because then I want to know. I want to know how heavily I was tested on based on what was populated. Um, so hopefully that makes sense. That's for me. And then on top of that, for questions that was 50-50, meaning I'm like, it's between 2 answers and I wasn't completely sure, I actually flag it. So I flag any questions I didn't know and any questions that was 50-50 or unsure of. And then from there, each testlets, I count them. Um, so there's 33 Qs on the first testlet. Say I flag 12 Qs. So I'm gonna write it on this area and note that, the first testlet, or maybe under here, I'll write 12 flag, and then out of 33 gives me an idea. But here's another thing. I know that there's 66 Qs. I think it's 33 questions as far. It's been a month, so I'm pretty sure it is. You have 12 pre-tests, or doesn't count questions. So that leaves you with so 66, 12 from that leaves you with 54 questions that are actually going to be scored. So you divide it by the two tested. So technically, in theory, you should be 27 out of 33 Qs is going to be counted. So what that does now with the 27 or the 54 questions that are counted, you actually, for me, just to keep things simple, forget the weight and all of that, I just do 54 times 0.75. That gives you about 40.5, which I round up to 40 Qs that I need to hit to give approximately 75% of those two MCQ testlets. So that's the gist of how I approach that. As far as the multiple choice questions, Tesla 1 and 2. And if you have followed my other videos, you should be extremely prepared for them because you are doing two sets every morning. First thing. So these two should be like, as far as time constraints and confidence builder, it should be easy. And depending on the exam you're doing, some of these multiple choice questions are fairly easy, especially if you're doing it at the intensity that I was doing as far as multiple choice question, the attack, the intensity, 3, 4, 500 questions a day. So at any rate, so now you're in your third testlet, which is the Sims. So first things first, what I do is I'll do another one and say the timer, say I burnt, we had 48 minutes budgeted per. Let's just say we used all of it. So that leaves it, well, let's say 48 and say we did 60. So we did 108, right? So out of 300, wait, 4 hours times, out of 240 minutes, we use 108, right? So if we use 108 minutes, at least 132. So what I do is I'll allocate that appropriately. So I'll divide that automatically by 3 or whatever this number is. I'll divide it by 3. That gives me 44 minutes in each of these, each of the testlets. So what I do is on this one, I'll try to honestly accelerate and build up some extra time so that whatever is in the fifth testlet, I have extra time to search or really do a over like a review of. So sometimes you might get a AL in the fourth or the fifth, and it could be easy or it could be really difficult as far as trying to find and dig. You have to like really dig in. So what I do is starting on tested 3, I see what's left as far as my timer, and then from there I'll actually see it'll say like 2.0, really easy 2.0, and I'll say let's round that up to 45 minutes. I'll take out 45 minutes, and then from there I'll right one. So if the timer looks like this, I got to go. I got to move on, you know, and take out another 45 minutes. I think the math is off right now, but I'll take out another 45 minutes. It'd be 0.30. I got to go. So technically, um, this should be another 45 minutes, but so this would be 2:15, and then the math will be right. But after the third Tesla, if I have like 16 minutes left, then I'm going to allocate it into Tesla 4 and Tesla 5, so that only gives me 30 minutes apiece. You see what I'm saying? So that's my approach for that. I'll just go over all as far as my timing and how I keep track ongoing, to keep it proactive. Because at first you're doing the 48 minutes, but as you do each Tesla, your time, either you have more time for the remaining Teslas or you can have less time. So you have to pace yourself accordingly. So with that being said, so on the, as far as simulation or task-based simulations, you have eight, right? And I believe what one is pretest. I'm pretty sure it's one. So that leaves you with seven. So seven at 0.75, that's gonna leave you with 5.25. I just round it down five to get a 75%. And this, of course, I'm not weighing it, but at the same time, you are trying to get partial points on the task-based simulations, the ones with pull down, fill in the paragraphs, situations where you actually have to search the documentation or documentation review, all of those. So one queue or one task might be 4 to 6 partial credit. But at any rate, you're trying to get five out of eight, 5 out of 8, because one of them obviously we don't know which one is going to not count, and that goes to the multiple choice as well. But in theory, we need about 5.25. So if anything, again, you flag the task-based simulation queues that you do not know or unsure of, and I would even go to as far as doing partial, like if there's five potential blocks, I'll be like, okay, 3 out of 5, okay, and I actually will track it. So here's my sheet. I will start tracking it to give my idea. So then to give an idea where I am, so that at the end I can leave one with some confidence. Two, I can gauge and keep my confidence as I um, keep my morale high, so that I can keep pushing. So that's the gist of my approach for taking the exams. This is pretty much how I time and how I track. And just to go back, the first Tesla might be easy or feels easy. Second Tesla, so it feels easy. The second one, you will be okay. If the first one is a challenge, then the second one is going to make you feel miserable. It makes you feel you want to give up. So that's when you have to take a moment and close your eyes, take a deep breath for a count backwards from 3, 2, 1, and then open your eyes, refocus, and then keep going. Because for me, I personally had exams where I just like, man, it's like I feel defeated, and it's like, forget it. I already failed, so let me just get up and leave this thing. I just didn't have any more will to actually push on. But that's when you got to reset, refocus, and then go from there because you've been prepping for this exam. And if you prep decent and properly, then this should be a problem. And on top of that, keep in mind the pre-test questions. Those are wild cards. So if you are lucky, aka stats are in your favor, all the questions that make you want to give up, feel miserable, is part of the wild card. So, that's another way to remotivate you. Not everything's counted, and you do not need a perfect score. And I stop and hesitate on that because you want a perfect score, which is 75, but in your mind, you want like a 99. That's what you feel is needed to pass. But yeah, if I could do it in 67 days, study days, you can do it too. Especially, especially if you're spreading it out more and really enjoying the process. And I don't know, some people really enjoy studying. I mean, for me, it wasn't miserable. It was just more of a being disciplined and staying focused for a short period of time and keeping that intensity running at that pace and holding out until the back end, which anyone will start getting burnt out. But that's the thing. If you can hold that intensity, whether it's 67 days or whether it's 90 days or whether it's 120 days, and for whatever other commitments you have in life, if you can keep that intensity by the time you finish the journey, you're gonna build you're gonna build your experience as far as staying committed and having the perseverance to push through anything. And honestly, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, it doesn't matter. It's short, it's relative, right? It's not that much time. Thinking about your whole life, the risk reward um, should yield you uh, proper returns if you use it properly. Um, but yeah, think about it. Think about my strategy. This has the gist both prep software. They do already talk about allocating time against Tesla. You need to give blah blah. Just the same piece as this, but for me, I go in more depth and I reset every Tesla after the first one. And if you're doing your multiple choice sets as I do, I already got a gauge of exactly where I need to be. And then from there, it's really critical for me to start understanding where I am on tested 3 through 5, because that's when the timer really starts ticking down, and that's when the challenges starts to appear, especially if you get really, really difficult or not difficult, really time consuming task or questions in your TBS. Because one, you might get a question that isn't difficult, but you have to understand the format it's coming out. Like, is that a trial balance or is that a financial statement? What is it asking me to do? And then you have seven other documents that you have to research to fill in these blanks. Um, so just deciphering the question and getting on the same page, and then from there, researching and then finding a solution is extreme time. The time is just gets consumed quickly, especially if you're really in the zone. So keep an eye on the timer. Um, as far as sim preps, I look over the AL and see the format and really understand the major categories and even the special categories, because that might you might get an AL in the special categories about some, I don't know, leasing of power plants or something. How do you account for that if you're actually regulated by the government, etc.? Something crazy like that. It's actually I was looking through the AL and I saw some crazy stuff like that. How can you charge? How much can you charge based on regulation? So it could get really crazy, or it could be like so if you have a partnership, how do you pay the partners? It can be as that simple. And most of the time, the AL's questions are really verbatim, like word for word. So if something is similar and you actually have time, go look a little bit, go do a second round. And I don't usually review. I go through one straight shot. Like MCQs and all that, I don't review unless there's something that pops out at me down later on the test that's where it's like, huh, it triggered something, and I'm like, oh, I remember question two, and I'm like on question 28, and then I'll go back, and obviously it's already flagged, so it makes it that much easier to locate. But usually I don't go back and review. That's the thing. I don't go. I just keep it pushing, moving. But as far as the AL, since the answer is literally there and you just have to find it. You just have to match. It's like Go Fish. Why am I going to waste that? But at the same time, keep the eye on the timer. Um, in a best situation, you have your ALs either in your fourth or your fifth test sets. And then from there, oh yeah, excuse me. And then the question, as you open the test sets for your TBS, You want to go and look at them. How demanding are they? And then from there, you can structure if you're going to do the first or second or the third, second one. Build on what you can get through first. Build confidence by answering things that you feel that isn't as challenging as far as the questions. Multiple choice. I usually, honestly, if I don't know it, I'll keep going. I don't go back. Even if I flag it, I don't go back and try to waste time trying to figure it out because it's multiple choice. And it's earlier on. I don't want the freaking last 60 minutes to be burnt out because I'm sitting here trying to worry about MCQs. Um, and you look at what, 66 Qs versus 8 TBS, right? So there's a lot of multiple choice questions. So you could take some hits. Your shield could take some hits, but that TBS, you need to get those things done. I mean, I heard of people not filling in stuff and still passed. I mean, they probably did amazing on your MCQs, or all the questions they got wrong were pretest, or both. So anyway, I just want to release this. I know it's all over the place. I'm not like, obviously, you see what sort of a tax accountant I am. Ex tax accountant many years ago. But hopefully you follow the gist of this and it helps you with your exam planning. And if there's enough inquiry, I can go over this again in a clearer make a power slide presentation. Haven't used those in forever, but I can make it a lot clearer for you and talk through the stuff and already like typed it out. But I felt like as I write it, this is exactly how my scratch paper on exam day looks. That's why I did it. This is exactly how it looks right here. You don't have time to be perfect, but if you're naturally just like writing perfectly on the lines and then drawing your perfect stuff and like boop 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 boop, like that, it's natural. You can do it quickly, then go for it. But for me, I'm like scribbling around. I'm training to be a doctor, a scholar doctor. So like that's what I'm doing. So hopefully this is insightful and it isn't too boring and entertaining. Some bring you some entertainment as far as just my style. Um, there's just not enough time in life to like sit there and really waste it, to say the least. And there's a time and place for everything. As far as presentation, being clean, being amazingly organized. Yes, you built that into your overall day to day and the way you carry out your work, who you are, etc. Your clothes being dry clean, press, everything. You look money. You look like success. Yes, but in this case, I'm writing as fast as I can, scribbling stuff just to mark my space so I can decipher this freaking exam. That's the bottom line, and it worked for me. And this, I actually did two retakes in those 67 days. And that was for regulation and audit. Regulation, I had a 69, and audit, I had a 71. And so both of those I did in 12 days for those scores. And my spreadsheet actually tracked exactly those scores on my MCQs daily over the 12 days for each of those. And when I did a retake for reg, I did 5 days, and I actually got an 82. And then audit, I did 8 days just due to the scheduling. 8 days, I got a 75, perfect score. So hopefully this will give you some insight. Maybe you can take something from it and give you that extra 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get you that one extra point to pass. All right. And again, if there's enough interest, I can do this structured how I did this in a more organized, clearer, typed out fashion. But this is the flow. This is the feel of how I do it on actual exam day. And that's the gist of it. So hopefully this helps you. And please hit like and subscribe because I'm going to release a lot more content and how I built my success over the years. Why did I take the CPA exam? Did I need it? No, I don't need this. I needed it like maybe 12 years ago when I was in Big Four, but I left and I did my own thing. I am an entrepreneur. And for me, the corporate type is just, a different element. And do I need this? No, I do not need it. If anything, this is a bucket list item. It is a bucket list item. That's why I came back and did this. So yeah, just stay tuned. I'm just going to share a lot more. I've been holding back my success and what I did to get to where I am. Just reinventing the wheel, just self-made, build, break, destroy my wealth, and then build it back up. And obviously, like Bezel said, each time that you lose money, it should be more than the time before or wealth. And I live by that to the T. I mean, each time I've lost a lot. And right now rebuilding everything. But at the same time, this time when I rebuild, I want to be able to document and share that all of my experience and what I've learned, whether it's through YouTube or through my consulting, I want to give back to the people because I want people to live their best life. Why am I going to do all this work if it's just for myself? That's not how I roll. I'm not that person. I want to do all of this so that I can vibe, even with strangers, eventually become friends, you know? They're still good in this world. But at any rate, yeah, hopefully this brings you some insight, and I'm going to send you all the bills later, okay? 1 hour, 250 per hour. Um, Riddick discount, CPA discount, $100 an hour. Nah, just kidding. Just pass that dang exams, okay? All right, good luck.